Have you noticed that Camarda shanks his punts when he's aiming left?
Right, have him say that. Yeah, yeah.
And have him
Are
be
you
like,
saying that? Are you saying that Kirby doesn't listen to the Bulldog Brunch? Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, my co-host John Powell and I preview Georgia's matchup with the South Carolina Gamecocks. We talk a good bit about their current interim coach Mike Bobo, and we close the episode with a little turkey talk. As always, remember you can follow us on social media at My Gotta Podcast. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars obviously, and review the show. If you leave us a review, you just might hear it on an upcoming episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. All right, so we go to play the Fighting Mike Bobos. Nope, sorry, the South Carolina Gamecocks. Saturday.
it's the Bobo. It's the Bobo.
Oh, the Bobo. That is amazing. Has anyone trademarked that yet?
I saw someone talk about it on Twitter, so I can't claim it. I don't even know who it was, but
yeah, it should. Whoever says that needs to trademark that. That is amazing.
You need to trademark that bad boy.
7:30 p.m. kickoff under the lights. We'll see how much they play Sandstorm. They'll play that kickoff. They'll play the kickoff, obviously.
You know what? I just realized that we are going to have to. We will hear Sandstorm the day after Thanksgiving. Dang it! I thought we were avoiding Georgia Tech this year. Our boys are gonna feel like they're right at home in Atlanta.
Yeah. So there's the other like weird 2020 thing that is really weird, and like we saw. I know we were texting about Patrick Garbin's like history moment that he had today, like on this day. It was like the '95 Tech game, the Cannon Parkman game, and like. Back to I'm like a nostalgic kind of person and was all up in arms about why we're playing Auburn the second week. You know, we ended up playing Tennessee more like when we usually do, but we're not going to going forward, and that annoys me. And so this is very weird to not be playing Georgia Tech. Like we should be previewing the Tech game, and we're not. And I'm not a fan of that. I hate that. I'm upset. I guess at this point, like. I don't know. I guess maybe they did the right thing with the conference only, but I did originally. I was hoping that they would have gone with like a +1 thing so that we could play Tech and South Carolina could play Clemson, et cetera. But Florida State, it stinks to miss those. But with the way things are going right now and all the cancellations, I guess maybe it was for the best. But so I don't know. So that is very weird for me that it's not Tech, but I can deal with it. I can get over it. Anyway. We don't need to talk about Tech.
I wish you could. Although on the plus side, I can be friends with my Tech friends. You know, for the first Thanksgiving in my
there you go
ever.
Right. It is. Everything can be more friendly this year.
Hey, and you know what? We also don't have to suffer through the THWGs all over the place.
Yeah, so that is one benefit of living in North Carolina. Like, there's no Tech fans around. Or I'd say one of the benefits. I actually do rather enjoy our area that we're in. But yeah, that's a definite plus here. Not nearly as many Tech people around.
Yeah,
I can't think of any that are around me. Actually, now I think about it. That's kind of nice.
You still see them on the socials, though.
I have a ton of friends with the Tech. I mean, like my main group of high school friends we were like 50-50, you know, generally speaking, Georgia or Georgia Tech. So I have a ton of friends that went to Tech. Yeah. And I have all kinds of whenever we start playing Tech again, lots of memories that I can share in future episodes, but I won't go into those.
We're playing South Carolina. Let's not.
We are playing South Carolina. Which the other thing I'll say, like as far as like going there, right? Like Sandstorm is annoying.
Awful.
It's like getting in and out is awful. I will say it's probably nice to be playing them this time of the year. It's also like incredibly hot there when we play them like second game. You know,
that's true. That's
super hot. The like rooster chicken sound that they play when they score is quite annoying. Or when big plays happen. And you know how like I feel like, and maybe this is this is me being a homer, right? Like I feel like the trumpet solo is like the greatest thing, like pregame, right? And like whenever you go to like an away game for the first time, if you know someone there, they're always like, our pregame, is like the greatest ever. And like, so like first time I went to South Carolina, I was like, oh, you're going to be so blown away by the pregame, the thing we do. It's like 2001: A Space Odyssey. And it's just like, it's so amazing. And so I'm expecting this like spectacle. And it's like, there's a little black box and they're playing 2001: A Space Odyssey and the thing drops and it's their mascot. And I was like, that's it. Like,
wait, what?
So, yeah, I was like, okay. Yeah, that was great. So I don't know, not a huge fan of that. But whatever. Have you ever been there?
I've been through there. I've not been there for a game.
Okay.
But Columbia sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there. I've seen Georgia play there 3 times. Yeah, I went. Yeah, because we're there in even years. I went 98, 2000, and 2002. So I've been there. I'm 2-1 there in person.
So we got that going for us,
right? Exactly. So
which is nice.
I don't know. Yeah. Although I won't be there, so no, zero impact.
So South Carolina usually is this game is usually talking about like the beginning of the season and it being really hot. Like this game is usually my birthday weekend. So
okay,
historically it's at the very beginning of September or like the very super end of August or whatever. But like most of the time this is like the beginning of September. So this is usually my birthday game. So it's a little weird for me as well as far as the timing goes. But yeah, I pretty much hate South Carolina because it's always that game that's like tripping us up at the beginning of the season or whatever. Like, whoever wins this game historically has been like in the driver's seat for the SEC because, if we lose this, we lose this game early in the season, we usually are not, we're not in the hunt for the SEC and vice versa. So
I also feel like the way you talk about South Carolina is different from the way I feel about it. And this is where with my whole, like, I feel like everything is very much driven about by when you came of age as a Georgia fan. Right. So like for me, like, that's why I hate Tech so much because like my freshman year and sophomore year and junior year, like we lost to them. And like, so like for you, like when you got to Georgia, was right there when like Spurrier went to Tech. I mean, Spurrier went to Tech. Oh god, when Spurrier went to South Carolina, right? And like they started beating us. Although, or am I getting that right? I guess that was Holtz actually. So when you got there, it was Holtz.
So you were there for a while.
Yeah. So Holtz, and again like they beat us, right? Like 2000 they beat us, and then 2001 they beat us. So yeah, like your first 2 years of school, they beat us. So I feel so. My personal opinion is this is like forming this hatred of South Carolina within you, and you have these.
Obi Jim Kenobi.
Yes, exactly. So that's kind of how I feel.
I'm not turning to the dark side, but this game usually is like it's like a monkey's back for us in general.
That's the interesting thing, right? And it is like so it's weird because like all-time series. So we lead the series 51-19-2, so not super close. But the last 10 games were 5-5 against them. Now we have won 4 of the last 5. So I don't know. There's a lot of back and forth there, and I guess of late it's been a bit streaky. So, but yeah, I mean, for sure. And it's one of those ones where like especially when it was early in the season, like you lose it, you're kind of out of the race. Right.
Right.
That's a one that can really trip you up and hurt you.
Yeah, it was usually a trap game, and they always seem to have one player, although now like those years that they would beat us, like, they either had Connor Shaw like decide that he was going to drop bombs on us or whatever. And then you got some of those games where it's like, we decide to not play special teams and they get a fake punt, and that's what causes us to lose. Or you got like a guy like Jadeveon Clowney like comes in and just absolutely destroys us
Yep.
from a defensive standpoint. So like, I don't know, man.
Lattimore, when they had Lattimore at tailback.
Yeah, Lattimore tailback.
Yep.
But anyway, I mean, I don't feel super worried about this game right now, especially with the way that the offense is running right now. The defense certainly concerns me with a quarterback guru, but similar to the Mississippi State's problem, South Carolina's got numbers problems too. They've got guys that have quit. They have, I think you and I were looking at this. I can't remember exactly how many players they've had. They've had like a defensive lineman. They had like 3 or 4 cornerbacks or defensive backs quit. They had like a linebacker quit. So like their defense is reeling right now.
Yeah, both of their like starting corners have opted out for the remainder of the season to prepare for the draft.
Which is probably not surprising when they fire their head coach, who is a defensive guru, and probably the reason they came.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, so first time since Bobo left Georgia that we'll face him. And so I mean, I just have to call out, like, I love Mike Bobo. Like, I loved him as a player. We'll never forget, him beating Florida and ending that drought. His senior season, he played with Kirby. That's why they're so tight. He was, he's a little bit older, but they were tight then. They've stayed close. I was opining and openly wanting him to come be our offensive coordinator when things were looking like he was going to not be there at Colorado State anymore. I hated to see him leave when he left Georgia. I was very upset about that. I felt like I still put that on McGarity. I don't think he really wanted to leave, but I feel like he didn't get the support he was looking for. Now, I mean, and I like his offense. I like the offense he runs. I was never a Bobo hater. Saying run the dang ball Bobo is fun. It is fun to say these things, but I love this offense.
It will always be fun. It will always be fun for the remainder of our days. We'll be 80 years old. We'll be saying, run the dang ball, Bobo.
Right. Exactly. I do have one Bobo story, and I'm gonna text you something. And I want to see if you were aware of this.
Oh geez, here we go. What am I getting here?
This is a clip from an issue of the Red and Black.
Of course it's from the Red and Black. It's probably one of the, you got like the Red and Black archives there at the Wood residence.
Yes, I did. So great site, Georgia Historic Newspapers. They have every Red and Black like ever scanned in there. And so this is from the awesome. January 7th, 1998 issue. I had to dig to find this. The headline of this little blurb, this was on like page 7 of the Red and Black. So because this had happened in December. And so, the Red and Black doesn't print while students are not on campus. Bobo's charges dismissed. Bobo got arrested back in the day.
That's crazy. But what I'm guessing the reason you sent this to me is because it was at Allen's or behind Allen's over near our old stomping grounds.
That's right.
Which, by the way, Allen's is a fantastic burger joint, or was. I don't know if it's still there. I can't remember.
So it's not in that same spot. That spot on Prince closed. It reopened at one point, like closer to downtown. I'm not sure if it's still there though. But I know that happened. I know like that even like my dad used to go to Allen's all the time when he was in school. He tells me that was his last meal as a single man before he got married, was a hamburger at Allen's.
Wow.
But so the reason I was trying to look this up, in my mind, it doesn't say this in this article, and I found a couple of articles. So this was basically like, school's out, so it's between the last game and we were in the Outback Bowl that year. So this is the, January 1st, 98 Outback Bowl from the 97 season. The way I remember it was that Bobo and Kirby both got arrested. Now this article only talks about Bobo, but like, no offense to Kirby, but like Bobo was the quarterback. And so I feel like it was both of them because they were roommates. So basically like there was a fight at this club Fox's that was behind Allen's. I don't remember that place.
I don't remember that place.
And like the cops were like, "Oh, go ahead." What?
Based on the location, I can't imagine.
Right. Exactly. Yes, exactly. And so like there's a fight there, and like the cops were like yelling at Bobo, like, "Come over here," whatever, and he like ran back into the club or something. And so they arrested him for like fleeing the scene or something silly like that. So ultimately charges were dropped, and he was able to lead Georgia to an Outback Bowl victory over Ron Dane in Wisconsin. So there's my my Bobo memory. Not his favorite memory, but I swear Kirby was with him. If anyone listening recollects that, hit us up.
Seriously, apparently it's Fox's Tavern.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's not there anymore.
I don't know. There's a phone number on Yelp. We could call it and see.
That'd be amazing. Amazing. That'd be great podcast content. We can call.
we'll do like waiting since last Saturday.
Amazing. All right, that was my general banter. And for like news and notes, I went through the press conference, and I didn't see a whole lot in there that jumped out to me. Only thing was that Kirby again used the word hopeful around Jordan Davis, which that kind of concerns me because as we've seen, whenever he's hopeful, it doesn't really mean anything. But he did say that, right? Yeah, that's like 3 weeks in a row that he said this. But he did say that Jordan Davis is closer to a return than LeCount. So I don't know. We'll see if LeCount ever gets to come back. He did clarify he's not going to opt out. I don't think we ever mentioned that, but we saw that. So I know he's trying to get back, but it sounds like Davis. Maybe we'll see him, which would obviously be awesome.
I didn't see anything that was newsy. I mean, nothing about any COVID cases or anything like that causing the game to potentially be canceled. I haven't seen anybody else defect that hasn't already announced that they're defecting from South Carolina. So it doesn't seem like that there's anything. But I will say, I did take a peek based on our conversation about the weather and how this is usually a hot. And I do see that it's about a 50% chance for rain on Saturday as of right now.
Interesting. Okay.
In Columbia.
Okay. Raining at night. That could be interesting.
Yeah. So the high is supposed to be about 67, low 47. It's about a 50% chance of rain. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's not wet, because I would love for us to not have wet conditions, particularly with the running game the way that it was last week.
Right. True. Yeah. You kind of want to churn out the rushing yards when it's raining. And we'll get to evaluate and see how JT Daniels deals with a wet ball.
Yeah. Any word on his hand size?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't actually. I haven't listened to Punt and Pass yet. Maybe Aaron Murray will talk about that. I bet he will. If there's rain in the forecast, Aaron Murray will talk about JT Daniels' hand size. So we'll have to listen out for that and their preview episode.
Check it out.
Yeah, but I did see. Oh, I guess the only other kind of funny thing. Did you see there's an LA reporter that called in? There's a guy that used to cover JT Daniels at USC, and he asked a question about JT Daniels, and he was like, "So why didn't he play? Why didn't he play before this game?" Like he said it in the South Carolina media availability, and Kirby was like, "We already addressed that on Saturday, so."
I didn't see that.
You see, yeah, Kirby's answer was, "We covered that after the game. Maybe you should go back and check those notes."
Oh,
poor guy.
That's like the guy that Urban Meyer would always blast or whatever. He would have to sit in the seat 37A or something like that, right behind a post in the swamp.
Too funny. All right, where do we want to go? You want to talk about the offense first or the defense?
Let's talk about our offense versus their defense, because I actually feel like that's going to be the tail of the tape for us.
Okay.
I mentioned this to you in the lead up to our conversations today about this is actually the first time, based on stats today, kind of thing. If you look at all of the defensive stats, this is like the first team that we've played, passing defense that we've played that's actually worse than we are. So I think that will be crucial and helpful for Mr. Daniels, even with a wet ball, if it were to come to fruition there on the weather side of things, that we at least have a pretty terrible pass defense that we're coming up against. So there's that. I think that, when you look at the teams that are underneath, the teams that are worse than South Carolina are Vandy, Ole Miss, and LSU, which is having like just a historic worst, terrible time right now. But like when you got Vandy and Mississippi as the next worst teams after you, so effectively you're the worst team in the SEC on pass defense.
Right.
So yeah,
and I mean, and so I guess the thing too there is like, a lot of those games were played with their best corners who are now gone, right?
That's true.
You'd think it's going to potentially get even worse, and your defensive-minded head coach is gone. So I don't know. That doesn't seem to bode well.
So I'm looking at it from a passing defense standpoint, and that was where I kind of honed in. Was basically what we saw on display against Mississippi State is that they were sold out to stop the run based on how Muschamp typically builds those teams. Like he usually tries to build them to stop the run as well. So like they're usually pretty aggressive just in general. So I fully expect that. And if I were the defensive coordinator, which I don't even know who is the defensive coordinator at this point at South Carolina right now, but if I were the defensive coordinator and I'm drawing up a game plan based on the numbers, I would be dialing up pressure to do exactly what Mississippi State did and just hope that, you can get home to Daniels more often than Mississippi State did, although their defense is worse than Mississippi State in that regard. So there's that. I don't know, man. Their passing defense, they're allowing completion percent of 67%. Yards per attempt. Basically, every time someone throws the ball, it's about 10 yards. You're getting 10 yards of completion.
Okay.
Against them.
Well, they're also their rushing defense isn't very good either. I mean, so they're like 11th in the league in rushing. So they give up 166 yards a game, whereas Mississippi State gives up 110. So I don't know that. Maybe we can break out of what happened. I mean, if they're still out to stop the run like that, I don't know. I mean, maybe it won't happen, but
I mean,
I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like they're as good at doing it, right? So
they've surrendered the most yards through the air than any other team in the SEC.
Okay, man. See, this is like the identity crisis for me right here. It's like. This is where I still say establish the run the ball, kind of deal. And then here, with what you're telling me, you're like, well, but their pass defense is terrible. And that's the way to beat them. And that's where in the past, I would be like, oh, our offensive coordinator has seen something and they're just trying to keep exploiting this, but it's not working and they'll never leave. So I don't know. I always, I say I love to run the ball, and I do. That's how I grew up or whatever. But ultimately, I just want to be successful, and I want to do what works. So again, no, square pegs into round holes. Whatever's working, I mean, let's do that. And that's what we did against Mississippi State, right? It was we got to the point where it was like, God, stop running the ball. Running is what's working. Proof that I am, adaptable.
Yeah, I mean. Frankly, it seems like that we're going to be able to do. It really just depends on how they come out. I mean, So Mississippi State showed that they could definitely shut down an entire swath of our offense, right? They basically shut down our run, which nobody has really been able to do against us in quite some time. Certainly not like that. So if they were to come to the table with something like that, like you could see them maybe. I feel like that they're not going to have nearly as much success just based on the numbers. Like, I mean, Mississippi State has one of the best defenses in the conference. And I just mentioned, the pass defense. So on the run defense side of things, they've surrendered the third most yards. Arkansas has surrendered more yards than South Carolina has. Ole Miss is statistically, Ole Miss is the worst defense in the entire SEC. So there's that.
Yeah.
South Carolina is not very good. They're just not very good.
On the
defensive side, and their record shows that.
Yeah, their record shows it. I mean, they're 2-6, and their only wins are Vanderbilt and Auburn. Boom, boom. So sorry.
Right.
Auburn dig. And honestly, like that's the game that I watched the most of, probably when they beat Auburn. And they kind of got hot, and Nix didn't have a great day, and he threw some picks to the corners who are no longer there. You know what I mean? Right. So like, yeah, I don't know, man.
So this could set up to be the opportunity for us to take advantage of one thing or another. So, if again, I still stand by that. If I were in South Carolina's shoes, I would do everything they could to stop the run. I just don't think that they got the horses in the stable to even suggest that they could even try to do that, because it just doesn't look like the numbers back that up.
Yeah, I mean, because again, if you can get a team to be one-dimensional, it helps. And right from their standpoint, they're saying, well, JT Daniels did it once, can he do it again? And we may or may not find that out, right, depending on how successful they are at stopping the run. I'd also say, I mean, I would expect the coaches are not too pleased with how the running game went against Mississippi State. That's one of those we won, but kind of back to the drawing board. Kirby did make the comments about you can be more creative in the running game. I mean, there's no way they're going to hold us to that low rushing output. I feel like there will be a challenge to the line. To get a better push this week. So I do not expect that. And I mean, and that excites me, because if Daniels was slinging the ball around like that on Saturday with a completely ineffective rushing game, like imagine what he's doing, what he can do if we can also run the ball, right? Where they're truly having to worry about that. I don't know, that excites me. And that's going to be the big thing everyone is going to be watching is, can Daniels do that again? And when I say, can he do that again? Like, I don't so much mean like, is he going to throw for 400 yards again? Because I don't think he could. And I'd like to think that like, we don't necessarily need him to do that, but I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I'm all for a 400-yard passing game.
Particularly if our defense can get some stops. So, we talked about this in the Mississippi review. I mean, we're not playing an offense the same. So our defense got gashed, period, point blank. Our offensive line got beat. So there will be challenges on both sides of on the ball this week. We're playing a more conventional style offense that, frankly, Kirby Smart has a little bit more familiarity with, especially given the fact that this is his best friend, kind of thing. So the fact that Muschamp is not there also kind of plays into it, because I feel like that Muschamp kind of has Kirby's number a little bit. So I'm hoping, frankly, that we have a pretty good. I'm hoping that this sets up for us to be able to move the ball pretty effectively and really kind of get some experience across the board. The spread's 21.5, which again, just hashtag Bulldog season 2020 just feels way too high. But if we're moving the ball the way that we did against Mississippi State, and I like our chances on defense to shut them down a little bit more. Obviously, move the ball a little bit more effectively on the offensive side than we did against a pretty stout defense with Mississippi State. So.
Yeah, I'd like to see us be able to, and again, whatever. Like if you score, you're scoring 30, 40 points. I don't really care how you get there, I guess, so much. Other than, like the whole, like I'm not a huge fan of the track meet. It would be nice to see if we can be a little bit more methodical. But I'm not going to complain. But like it just like the trio of Pickens, Burton, and Jackson, right? I mean, also, right? I mean, those three guys all played so well on Saturday. I'd love to see that. Add those three, add Washington, McKitty, and then a potential reemergence of D-Rob. He could be maybe that fourth guy in that receiver rotation. I think that bodes well. And again, like, the passing game continues the way it is, then teams are going to have to respect the pass. They're going to get back off a little bit, and then you hit him with Zamir White. You hit him with James Cook. And we did see Kenny McIntosh back in a limited role last week as well. So get those guys out there. I mean, when you get into it's like that kind of pick your poison thing for the defense, right? That's where we want to be. I mean, we always talk about like the way it seems at Georgia, whether it's like, oh, the offense is clicking, but not the defense, or vice versa. And then this year it's been like the running game has worked, but we can't hit the passes. And then last week it was the opposite. Can we do all of it? That'd be cool.
The ever going question: can we play 4 quarters?
Right. Yes, exactly. Shout out Adam Weinstein, friend of the show. Did we play 2 halves? I'd say we played 2 halves. We were at least consistent.
we played 2 halves on offense.
We played 2 halves on offense and we probably played at least a quarter. Pretty good defense in the last game. So,
but yeah, I think that this is ultimately going to come down to can their defense even stop us in any facet to make it a difference one way or the other. So
yeah,
I don't know that in order for us to throw 400 yards, we would really have to not be moving the ball really that effectively at all from a running game standpoint, kind of like what we saw. Because, we had tried to run the ball but we just couldn't. So the only other option was to go over the top. So
right.
I do think that we're going to stretch the field just based on everything that I've seen with Monken all season long. I fully expect the arm talent of JT Daniels to be on display because the way that he was completing passes deep was pretty impressive, especially on the outside throws down the sidelines. And then, he was able to check down. He was able to throw over the middle to Burton for touchdown. So, and frankly, he threw over the middle to Kearis Jackson for a touchdown. He was throwing the ball all over the place.
He was inside, outside. Like he was throwing over the middle. He's throwing the deep ball. I mean, I don't know. Like
when you're completing 56% of your passes that are deep.
Yeah.
Those numbers are pretty good.
Right. I don't want to get in trouble with Drew Butler talking about it like a James Patterson novel. We saw
John Patterson. Yeah, John
Patterson novel. Although I did have a Hallmark moment, with JT Daniels, so maybe I'm guilty. Maybe I am the guy that, I'm like Dan Young, who got the ire of Drew Butler today.
What about? I mean, why does it got to be a John Patterson? Like, does nobody like Nicholas Sparks? I mean, is that not a thing anymore?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. That's a valid question. We need to investigate.
We all have wives.
Yes, right. So we talked about their defense a little bit. Their offense with our defense. Do we want to go there?
Their offense with our defense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, you go. I gave a dissertation, I felt like, for the other side of the ball.
You went into a bit. I'll say, like, I mentioned before, like, that I'm a fan of Mike Bobo. I know we talk about this a lot, that we both subscribe to and read The Athletic. Seth Emerson had a great article that came out today, which today is Monday, about Bobo, about his offense at Georgia, kind of where it stands in the annals of all-time Georgia offenses. And like that 2014 offense, like, scored the most points. 12, 14 were excellent, 7 all under Bobo. But kind of the knock is, like, the one thing goes wrong. So where, like, 12, SEC championship game, didn't spike the ball. 14 at South Carolina, Gurley is dominating. We don't hand it off to Gurley, run play action, and Hudson Mason gets intentional grounding. Like, it's like the kind of single things that you can nitpick with him is kind of what happened to him. And obviously run the dang ball, run the ball, Bobo. But I like Bobo. I like him. I like his offense. He has a good offense. I don't think he doesn't have the players at South Carolina that he had at his at his disposal at Georgia. They also are in a quarterback controversy right now as well. So they had the transfer from Colorado State, Colin Hill. They came over with Bobo. He's been the starter pretty much all year. But last week in a loss to Missouri, they made a switch and they went to their true freshman Doty. He finished out the game. And as of today, we're recording, they have not announced, and it sounds like they may not announce. So we may have another instance on our hands where quarterback will be revealed for South Carolina when their offense runs out. It is nice that we don't have that question for Georgia this week for the first time in a while. So they're in that they are also in that situation. Again, still, like, on their horses, right, on their team, like, leading receiver Shi Smith, he's questionable. And they've got another receiver Leggett. He's out for the season. He's like third, I guess, in catches among receivers. So they're down. They're depleted. We've talked about their opt-outs. I know there's definitely strong a lot of opt-outs on the defensive side, but I know those were the things that I had jotted down for their offense. And then as far as our defense, man, I really hope we can have Jordan Davis back.
I mean, that's definitely been a recurring kind of thing for me, is just like, man, we are really missing the interior of the defensive line in order to not only eat space, but eat manpower, as well as, he's just a beast in general.
Yeah, for sure. And so like we said, that, LeCount won't be back. I don't know. Like, I definitely feel better about the defense this week against a more traditional offense. Like we said, we're familiar with it. We know it. Kind of get back to normal a little bit. I kind of throw out what we saw last week with the uniqueness of what Mississippi State runs. This may give us a little bit better of a signal on our defense playing against a more traditional offense.
Yeah, from a statistical standpoint, their offense lines up more closely with Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee. So basically you've got, Ole Miss, A&M, Alabama, and then from there it's everybody else, basically, from a statistical standpoint. So you got Kentucky, you got Auburn, you got South Carolina from a yards per game kind of scenario. I think that they're basically, I don't know. I just don't see them. I'm not too worried about them from an offensive standpoint. That's kind of what I'm looking at here from a statistical standpoint. The offensive side of the ball looks to be just as much of a struggle for, for many of these guys. I mean, Tennessee is having an epic problem with the passing game. Kentucky is having an epic problem, and those are the two worse than them. Outside of that, Georgia, was having more passing success than South Carolina was. So I don't know that that's necessarily going to bode very well for them when, if they're not getting the job done passing the ball, they're definitely not going to get the job done with this defense set up for the run, to defend the run. I'm just not super worried about them from an offensive standpoint, because I'm not seeing anything that looks lights out. Nothing of it screams. Part of the reason probably why Muschamp was fired. Agent Muschamp, which, by the way, I really hope that after this game that we find a way to, bring Muschamp on as an analyst of some sort. That would not break my heart to have Muschamp on as a defensive analyst at UGA, which could then shortly be followed by Mike Bobo, the offensive analyst for UGA.
I'm all on board with that. I mean, I wanted to be our offensive coordinator. When things didn't work out at Colorado State, I was hoping he would have a homecoming, but I'm happy with Lunkin.
I agree, which I'm going to get to why I feel that way, but the only reason that I feel that way is because I do feel like that at some point Dan Lannon is going to get taken away from us. At some point, Monken, I believe, will kind of be having eyes on the NFL, particularly with the way that his offense has looked. You're not necessarily jumping out on paper, but if you're a film reviewer of sorts, you could see that this guy can coach offense. So I feel like that the NFL is going to come calling for him, or somebody else, in college football will come calling, give him a shot, maybe in the SEC. Hopefully not. But, one of the things that I feel like that would be nice for us to have is, bringing on these coaches, kind of similar to how Saban does things at Alabama, where he brings them on as analysts before he ever brings them on as a coach, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like an internship of sorts. So it would be nice to have those guys come back home and be with Kirby, just from
it is. And
a homer standpoint.
Right. Yeah. And that's where, I mean, like continuity is great and you do want continuity, but if your coordinators are leaving for head coaching jobs, that's a sign that your program is in good shape. Right. And so then we just need, Kirby needs to be good at finding the replacement. Right. So, first swing was a swing and a miss with Coley for him. Going from Chaney to Coley did not work out, but the fact that he had, he swallowed his pride and admitted that after one season, which I think is remarkable, honestly. He could have dug in and said, and given an in the arena answer and, response and said, I know, and, this and that, and kept him and forged on. And he did, he made a change. So I give him a ton of credit for that.
Yeah. Yep. So, I think the keys for this game, Georgia, can we replicate some of the passing success? Can we get the running game going? Those are things that I'm going to be looking at from an offensive standpoint. If we can do either of those things, I feel like we win this game pretty handily. And, I'm looking at the, spread, I'm looking at the score, maybe 21.5 isn't a bad spread there. Last week against Mississippi State, I felt like it was a mountain, but I don't know. I feel like we can beat these guys pretty handily.
Yeah. I have a special teams thing that I heard. I've got another Bulldog Brunch tidbit that I heard on Bulldog Brunch this week.
Man.
So Kevin Butler, someone called in and was asking Kevin Butler about Camarda, and was mentioning that like he seems to have like one of these shanks right in the games of late, which we didn't talk about in the Mississippi State review, but he had one again. And something I had not noticed. Butler said that when he does it, it's the punts that he is angling to the left. So that when he's going straight, he booms it. When he's kicking to the right, he booms it. And when he's kicking left, those are the ones that tend to be shanked. And he said that it has something to do with like his swing plane with his leg. So I don't know, something to watch for. It was interesting because then they talked about like Jeff Dancer was like, well, if he's having trouble kicking to the left, maybe he should just kick it straight or kick it to the right.
That's kind of one of those things. That's kind of one of those things that I feel like that wasn't wasn't Kevin Butler like an analyst?
He was
or like a GA or something like that.
He was a grad assistant. Yep. So he went.
Was it during 17?
It was. So yeah, it was. He was there. I think he was there 16 and 17. So I think he basically went to graduate school and he was there for 2 years. And so he was a grad assistant 16 and 17. I mean, and like think of the kicking game at the time. So that was the emergence of Hot Rod. And then like in 17, Cam Nizelek was an amazing punter. So yeah, I wish he was still on the payroll. I wish he was still something. I know we have, you've got Scott Cochran as special teams coordinator, but he's obviously not like working with the kickers on, their swing of their leg and that kind of stuff. Right. Yeah. So I don't know, like that's the, difference between college and the NFL. Like college does have limits on how many coaches you can have, but you can't have the analysts. Like, I don't know, like what all the rules of what folks can and can't do, but would be nice. I would love to have him still on the payroll in addition to his post-game call-in show with Jeff Dancer.
So maybe what we need to do is we need to have like Seth Emerson or, Leggy or some of these guys like ask Kirby, like, hey, have you noticed that Camarda shanks his punts when he's aiming left?
Right, have him say that. Yeah.
And have him
Are you saying that Kirby doesn't listen to the Bulldog Brunch?
Well, I just feel like that maybe he doesn't. Maybe he was busy. He's a busy dude. He's probably hitting the recruiting trail on Sundays. Anyway, I just feel like that's something that someone should be noticing. Maybe it's Scott Cochran, maybe it's someone else, but like, I agree. Like it almost feels like that it's one of those things kind of like, what's his face used to do with the directional kicking or whatever.
Oh yeah.
We like a challenge. Like, are you freaking kidding me, dude? How about we just kick it through the end zone? Like it's a punter. Like, do we really feel like that kicking it 10 yards to the left is going to make that big of a difference in the game?
So that would mainly happen under Rick. Who was the guy? He was like the crazy coach. He was like a defensive coach or something, and he worked with the special teams a lot. And he was like the super animated coach. He was the one that came up with the directional kicking concept with Rick. He used to always do it. And I'm blanking on his name. This is terrible. I'm getting disappointed in myself.
Come on, man.
I can see his face. He had like white hair. And like all the players said that he was crazy. Oh well.
Fabris.
There you go. Fabris. Yes, John Fabris.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the one that loved the directional kicking. I'm pretty sure he's the one that like came up with that idea. Hate the directional kick. Kick it in through the end zone. Tony Wallace favorite play.
Not so much kick it through the end zone on the punts, but maybe we just kick it straight instead of trying to kick it, to the left or whatever.
Right. Exactly, for sure. So there was my Bulldog Brunch and special teams tidbit.
Man, you always have to. I gotta listen to the Bulldog Brunch more.
It's great on the. My recommendation is to listen to it on the podcast, like the official Georgia podcast. I subscribe to that. That's good because they leave the commercials in, but you can like fast forward through them. If you listen to it on the radio, it's like 2 hours, right? But if you listen to it on the podcast, you can skip the commercials. And they've got like the Shock and Chip, DJ Shockley and Wes Blankenship is on there. Jeff Dancer has been doing the 40 for 40 things on the 80 season. They got a lot of good content on there. It's good.
Good stuff.
Okay. I got some picks for you. Want to hit some picks?
Let's go.
All right. This one I don't expect to actually track. So we're not going to track this one, but I just thought it was fun. Over under number of times that the broadcast will show a picture of Mike Bobo in a Georgia uniform. So I didn't even set an over under. I just wanted to say that because I feel like it's gonna be like, did you know that Mike Bobo played and coached at Georgia? Like that's gonna be like half the broadcast. So anyways,
that's amazing.
So what I don't know. What would you if you were setting that over under? What would you set it at?
3.
3. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, that's what let's predict it.
Or 2.5, I guess.
2.5. Ooh, I go over.
Yeah, I go over. Maybe we just set it at 3. At which point I'll just go push.
Okay, we'll sit at 3. You'll go push. I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go over. Okay, we're not going to actually even track that though. If you want to keep a tally, that's cool.
You might as well. You got your legal pad there. Like let's write.
That's true. I do have the legal pad. Although I don't have the legal pad with me while I'm watching the games. Maybe I should. Maybe that needs to be a new addition to the setup. I don't know. I spend too much time texting you and texting my dad and then like tweeting. Like, I don't think I can handle the legal pad too, which I sometimes question. Am I like doing too many things during the game? There's something to be said about just watching it. But it's like my phone starts like blowing up and going crazy, and it's usually either like you or my dad or Tim Riley, and then like I'm texting back, and yeah, that's kind of how it goes. I can't stop.
So locally for me, like in terms of just like having someone just to watch the game with is fun. So like,
yeah.
But unfortunately for me, I've got a guy that doesn't really like watch Georgia all that much, like doesn't really take it that seriously, but calls himself a Georgia fan, didn't go to Georgia. Mm-hmm. And then the 2 alumni that I have that are right across the street from me, like they're always working. So like they're almost never home. So like when unless I plan a get together, I'm pretty much watching it outside or, by myself. So
that's usually how I am. I mean, yeah. Like, sometimes the kids will humor me and watch it with me. Kim will watch. But yeah. And then like, I'll have neighbors on. If I have neighbors over or go over to someone's house, like sometimes, not so much this season, but in normal times, somebody will be like, hey Jim, I'll throw the Georgia game on, if you want to come over. So I tend to do that, but I'm the only like Georgia fan there generally around here. So, all right.
Another negative for North Carolina.
Yeah. Although I do have some Georgia neighbors right down there. There are some Georgia fans around, but yeah, not nearly as much. Not like living in the Metro Atlanta area.
Yeah.
All right. Over under Georgia rushing yards at 149.9. That's our average. Last week we were way under, but I'm going for our season average. Will we go over or under?
I'm going to go under because I feel like that Monken has found his new toy.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go over to be different. I'm going to go opposite of what we usually do. Okay. South Carolina starting quarterback. You going to go Hill or you going to go the freshman?
Well, I'm going to go with the freshman because I feel like that it's kind of like a Mississippi State scenario because he wasn't getting the job done. And obviously the offensive stats kind of support that. I feel like Bobo is probably kind of in that same boat with Leach, is that he's analyzed what he had to work with. And you know what? It ain't working out, Chief. So we got to go different.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to the normal My God podcast. Jim and John agree on everything, and I'm gonna go Doty as well for the starting quarterback for South Carolina. All right, those were the only ones I jotted down, and then just the score. Unless you had anything you wanted to pick.
Let's see here. Over under 1.5 quarterbacks for Georgia.
For us? Under. Totally.
I didn't know if you thought we would get up enough to see a mailman sighting or a Mathis sighting.
What about a Beck sighting?
I feel like Mr. Beck is riding the pine the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Because he was 100% healthy in the beginning of this debacle of an offensive season.
Yeah, I feel like for him, like, no spring practice, kind of that really hurt him. So Brian, are
Agreed.
you going to go over? You think we're going to get up so much that someone comes in for mop up duty?
No,
I,
I think that they're going to let JT air it out. I
I,
think that at this point, Kirby has something. Kirby has a point to prove, and I feel like he's got an axe to grind, and he's going
yeah.
to. Like I said, I feel like Monken has his. He has his new toy that he wants to play with.
Well, and the reality is Daniels needs reps too, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see them taking him out. So
Agreed.
okay, let's get to our final predictions. So we mentioned it earlier. Line currently sits at Georgia minus 21 and a half. Over under is currently at 49. So with my math, that'd be roughly like a 35 to
35,
14, something like
14.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, kind of game. Um, if it went exactly like that. Uh, I didn't do a score ahead of time. I did not prepare like I did last week. I had everything already. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
everything
going.
done.
I'm gonna be going on the fly here. So I don't know. Do you wanna give yours first, or do you want me to give mine?
So before we sat down, I was thinking like a 35-14 kind of scenario here. So like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the spread, like I said, whenever I see it, at least this season, when I see a 20 plus point spread
Right.
coming, I'm like, ooh, I don't know that we can do that. But against this team, with the way that we were throwing the ball around the field, I do think that we can defend much better. It's a more traditional offense, and I feel like that our offense will be able to do similar things
Mm-hmm.
to their defense. So I feel pretty good. 35-14. I'm going to lock it in.
35-14. Okay. Nice. Um, this is one where I feel like things are lining up nicely for us. And again, just especially with like just the attrition that they've got on defense, right? And they're especially we just saw this emergence. We found our quarterback last week, and both their starting corners are out, or have opted out. So that's definitely making me feel good. I think 14 feels right for them as well. I'm just going to go a little bit under. So I'm going to do a win but not cover. I'm going to go 31-14. So we're similar, but 14 sounds right for me to them. I don't envision a shutout. I don't know. I think they will still score some. So I'm going to go 31-14.
Yeah, I mean, after all, it is a Bobo offense, so I figure they'll at least get some garbage time touchdowns, if nothing else. If they, what I mean, if they can't get anything done, we'll pull the starters kind of thing, get some reps in at the end of the game, which I really, really hope that we can get some defensive depth going here with the reps. I think Kirby even said it, like, the downside of not playing these directional schools and things like that, and Georgia Tech, I kind of classify that in that arena as well. So
Hey, we don't even have to play them this year. So you can make as many Tech jokes this season as you want.
I mean, yeah.
How are you? So it is Thanksgiving, and folks who are listening may have already had their Thanksgiving dinner. How are you preparing the turkey this year?
I'm gonna be baking. Truth be told,
Baking?
I'm not a huge. Yeah. I do a little brine and then an oven roasted scenario. I don't have a smoker right now. I need to. I'm actually a little disappointed in myself. I almost pulled the trigger on a smoker earlier this year, but I didn't.
Mm.
Yeah, I've been smokerless for a while, but I kind of want to get back into it. But
if you need any advice, if you're choosing one, you feel free to run it by me.
Dogwood DIY.
Yeah, this episode has been brought to you by Dogwood Nation. You can check it out at dogwoodnation.com. Full disclosure, that's my my DIY website. So I am going to smoke one, and I haven't smoked. Oh, this will actually be my first one on the egg, where I smoked a whole turkey.
First time? How long have you had it?
Well, on the egg. So, and because we're usually, that I've done it. So usually we're out of town for Thanksgiving. And so like last year we did smoke a turkey, but we were at Fripp. And my brother-in-law and I did it. He did it. I like helped him follow the instructions that he gave me. So it's not an egg down there. So we did like 2 small turkeys for that. So yeah, this is my first solo whole turkey, because the last time I smoked a turkey, I just did the breast, because we did the dual turkeys. We had a turkey competition. Kim baked a turkey and I smoked a turkey, and it wasn't really a competition, but we kind of made it into one because we're like that.
Well, who won?
The consensus was that the smoked turkey was better. I will say.
Yeah, smoked turkey is very good. Turkey. Are you gonna brine it and all that kind of jazz?
I am, yeah. So I'll brine it overnight, Wednesday night, and then just get up early, Thanksgiving Day, and smoke it. That's the plan. That's the plan.
It's my god a smoked turkey.
My God, a smoked turkey. Did you just see what he did?
He just ran right through 225.
Too good. Well, I hope your baked turkey turns out well. Hope the sides are excellent. Hope everyone gets to take naps after eating said turkey.
Absolutely.
Sit around and watch some football.
What other games
try to feel normal. Well, the Egg Bowl is this week. They actually got to keep their traditional date of playing this week. So that's there. So the big one in my family. So on Kim's side, I mentioned they are from Washington State. My father-in-law went to UW, went to Washington. So Apple Cup is supposed to be this weekend, but that has been canceled / postponed. Yeah. What is the Iron Bowl this weekend?
Mm-hmm. We got the
Are
Iron
they playing
Bowl.
that? They are playing that? Okay.
Allegedly, the Iron Bowl is going on. I meant like when I was asking like what games are on. It looks like
checking Thursday.
Yeah, like Thursday, Friday. It looks like Oregon State's on Friday. You got Notre Dame. Notre Dame's playing UNC. That could be a good game.
Interesting. I did not even know that.
Iowa State, Texas are playing on Friday as well. Let's see.
I have like no idea what the NFL game is like on Thursday.
But it's the NFL. Who cares?
Yeah, I watch the NFL on Thanksgiving Day though.
I'm just kidding.
It's on,
I know that.
and then I usually end the evening with the Egg Bowl. Okay, over under 0.5 Ole Miss players celebrate by peeing on the field.
Oh, 0.
Holy cow.
I'm going to go with the under on that one.
And that is why we have Matt Luke as our offensive line coach. that loss ended his career.
Ouch.
At Ole Miss.
Oh, man, I really hope that the offensive line has a better showing this weekend, because they really need it, because again it would jive with the inconsistency that we've seen all weekend or all season.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Right. Well, yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, sir.
Happy Thanksgiving to anyone listening, and we will be watching the Bowl on Saturday.
The Bowl. We get a trophy for that.
There should be one. And it obviously will say "Run the dang ball, Bobo" on it. Clearly,
Run the dang ball, Bobo. All right, man. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.